Malaysia has a dichotomy, a divide between the rural and the urban, between the eastern and the western, between the haves and the have-nots. They actually lead two different types of lifestyles. I think in the urban centers of Malaysia like Penang, Ipoh, Kuala Lumpur, Johor maybe, and for a while Singapore, these were towns very, very much influenced by the West. So you'd have people in Kuala Lumpur who were more affluent, so there was more interest in aping the West. So you have, look at how they had parties, tea parties, their dressing. The dances that these people did mainly were influenced by the West. So it's like foxtrot and tango and British folk dancing and ballet. However, at the same time as all this was going on, in the rural areas, there was a whole other world taking place. And this was the world that had come into Malaysia more than 500 years ago. And this was the world of the dances that were brought into Malaysia by the merchants, the travelers, the traders that came into Malacca from the 1500s. So you have the joget that comes from them. You have the zapin that comes from the Arabs. You have the inang that potentially or possibly came from the Chinese or is a version of the Malay classical dance. And then you have the Javanese dance that came into Malaya because of the marriage between the Javanese, the Pahang, the Terengganu royalty. So you have a whole family of dances that were only practiced in the palace. So there were all these three things going on at the same time. And then you have the Orang Asal, which is the Negritos, the Orang Iban, the Kadazans, the Dayaks, who danced from whenever. Of course, the dances have become more evolved and more choreographed. In the beginning, they're very simple. So most of the time, the dancers would just dance back to front or in a circle. There were not these very complicated patterns and rhythms. All that became more and more complicated as the years have gone on, you see. So I will say that we've had dance in Malaysia for so many centuries actually. Yeah, Kuda Kepang is actually a dance that's originally practiced by the Javanese. And it was believed to come to Malaysia again through travelers and through migration. Now, Kuda Kepang is very interesting. In fact, the ritual of the Kuda Kepang really is the possession of the spirit of the horses into these dances. And they are practiced so that it can release them of the ritual that will release them from the illness and the sickness and so on. So when it was practiced in Malaysia in the early days, you will see the dancer actually taking on the spirit of the horse, you know. It's really quite amazing and quite honestly a little bit scary because you can see them go to eat the mud and, you know, really behave like horses. As the years have gone on, because dance has become more an entertainment form also, the ritual aspect of Kuda Kepang has been slowly, especially here in Kuala Lumpur and in here when we do it in Aswara, we almost completely remove the ritual aspect of the dance. We focus on the movement. And the movement is very, very, very beautiful because the movements are taken from the movements of the horse. So you have the way the horse canters, the way the horse jumps, the way the horse moves from side to side. So these are the inspiration of the movements of the horse. But the original form of the dance actually is very tied to the ritual aspects of this. The Tarian Merak, it was in Malaysia, choreographed by the late Gopal Shetty and danced by Gopal Shetty and his wife Radha Shetty. And it became a dance that was most famous because of this couple. And this couple was husband and wife. And they were invited everywhere to dance this, together with VK Sivadas and Vatsala, another husband and wife couple. And this dance is very simple. It just takes its inspiration from the bird, from the peacock. The peacock is beautiful in its plumes, yeah, in its plumage. So that is part of the dance. And the dance has a little story. The dance that was choreographed has a little story. It's about the peacock looking for food, the peacock eating, and the habits of the peacock, running, jumping. So the peacock also takes off its feathers only once in a while, not all the time. So this was the dance and the story of the dance. It's not a dance that is linked specifically to only a ritual or an event. As I said, Zapin came to Malaysia more than 500 years ago. But the very, very interesting thing about Zapin is that we believe that it was also used as part of a way to attract people to Islam. So the use of Zapin to proselytize, to convert people or to tell people of the greatness of the Nabi, that was all done in the lagu-lagu yang berzikir, the verses that tell of the goodness of the prophets. And this was all incorporated into the dance. So the Zapin is very interesting because the Zapin has very specific structure. It has taksim, when the dancers ask for permission to come onto the dance floor. And then there's another section which is called the kopak, because the music of the Zapin has got the drums that beat alternately, and the rhythms are like this. They're interlocking rhythms. And the last part of the Zapin is called the wind up, where they wind up the Zapin. That means it's finished. W-A-I-N-A-B, wind up. I really think wind up is a way of saying wind up, actually, you know. Let's finish it, you know. So it's very interesting that we create words that work for us, you know. So the Zapin dance then evolved in Johor especially. And a lot of the work on the development of Zapin is attributed to the Yayasan Warisan Johor. And what we may not know is that not just Johor practice Zapin. Actually, if we look right through till Kelantan, Sabah and Sarawak, they all have their own Zapin forms. So it's something that's very widely spread, not just in Malaysia, but in Nusantara, in the archipelago. But in the olden days, usually after Maghrib, the event for the whole village to gather together and enjoy themselves. So can you imagine in the village square, they all call each other, and the way they used to dance Zapin is not such a formal way, you know. They used to call it main Zapin. They play the Zapin, meaning that they have, for example, a Zapin dance has, let's say, 10 sequences. So they play a game with each other, and they will all shout, you know, let's do number 10. So they all do the 10th one. And then it's like a challenge to see who remembers which is which, you know. So after this, they will say, as they're doing number 10, they will say, number 5. And so they will play a different. So there's no fixed form to dance it.